report. I especially appreciate the opportunity to do this because I'm really a history buff. If there's anything that's old and significant, I hate to lose it. And we've lost so many things through the years. A developer one time told me that if you don't take care of your past, you compromise your future. And I kind of use that as one of my statements. Now, I'm kind of on the borderline here. If you're older than me, and of course, as I look at Chicago, I don't see anyone that is older than I am. There's a lot less of us every year that will remember Central Addition, and it's very significant to Ottumwa. If you're younger than I am, you probably didn't live in Central, and you may not even know where Central Addition was. So tonight, I hope you leave with an opportunity to be enlightened about some of the things that maybe you haven't heard of. I hope when I mention individuals there, you don't get mad because I tell a story maybe about one of your relatives. I'm telling you from a background that I was very close to, or I wouldn't be saying it. You're probably going to hear more questionable things about my relatives than anyone else tonight, and I know those things for sure. Well, the first question would be why and where. Well, where is pretty easy. If you look at this map here, this is the lagoons. The red line over there, that was what was called the race. It was the river, but it was very narrow. If you notice at the hydro plant now where they have 9 gates, there were only 3 then. And the purpose of that was to keep it narrow and keep it deep so you get a rapid flow and it would make electricity. But the real river was this area here that went around. Now there were just a couple ways in. One was up here at Benton Street was the Race Bridge, and then that little part at the end there was Wapello Street. This bridge, of course, was not there. Well, that's the where. Now the why, if you look at that area, and remember we're looking at, this was developed in 1890. Everybody didn't have a car and a motorcycle and could get a bus to go to work. You needed to be within close walking distance of where you worked. It was platted in 1890. They platted about 600 lots. You can see here 600. They didn't sell near that many, or they didn't really develop near that many, but the original plat was over 600 lots. The lots sold for $250. Pretty high price back then. This was meant to be an upscale neighborhood, one along the river, you know, and they had all kind of good foliage. Some of the cottonwood trees that are in the campground you can see now. The whole area was like that. A lot of foliage, trees, nice area. Well, it didn't quite turn out that way. You know, some of the streets there, maybe you've heard some of those names. The main street was Columbus Street, but they had Leo and Lawrence and Mangan and Wiley and Zangs and Cable and Newton, Norton, Catherine, Quinlan, Googarty. Some of those people like Googarty and Zang were partners in the Ottumwa Land Company that developed Central Addition. As I talk, I'm going to read some things to you because I think they're historically significant. And you find through the years, I haven't really given a lot of compliments to the Courier, but I'll tell you, as far as historically significant to this project here, a lot of the information I got came from Courier articles that are 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're making this presentation tonight a lot better than I could have made it if I just had to read books about it. So as I go, I'll take a minute or two out and read some things. This one here is from the Historical Museum's newsletter. It says, Ottumwa Central Addition. The housing area known as Central Addition was created in the late 1800s as a development for upscale homes along the Des Moines River. Originally, the area had many nice homes, mostly occupied by employees of Ottumwa's major employers, such as the Milwaukee Railroad and Dane Manufacturing, which later became, in about 1947, became John Deere. Central Addition is one of the first housing areas in Ottumwa to have brick paved streets, sidewalks, street signs, and electric street lights. A tree-lined Wapello Boulevard marked the southern edge of, while Benton Street marked the northern border. Two bridges brought people in and goods into Central Addition, one crossing the tributary of the Des Moines River called the Race, and it was the Race because they wanted it going fast through there to make electricity. And the other was the Wapello Boulevard. And it wasn't near, as you can see here, that's Wapello Street now, but just a little part over the red up there is what was Wapello at that time. I'd like to read an advertisement, and you can see this here. This is from 1891, when they were trying to get people to buy lots in Central Addition. And the biggest selling point was it was beautiful, it was nice, and it was close to work. And I'm gonna, their ad said, a dozen factories within a radius of 4 blocks giving employment to hundreds of workmen. Altogether, the factories within 4 blocks of this property give constant employment to about 3,000 people. Ottumwa has a now 18,000 population and gaining rapidly and steadily. It has 6 railroads. The coal palace is styled to be like the Lowell of the West. Its future seems assured as a significant manufacturing city. Central Ottumwa, the plat of which is here presented, is located in the very heart of the city. 650 lots have been placed on the market. Remember, that was at $250 a lot, of which 150 have already been sold. Streets are graded, sidewalks laid, shade trees planted. The residential lots are 50 by 132. For home seekers, its nearness to all parts of the city makes this land the most desirable property on the market. For the present price, inside lots are uniform, and they're all at $250. Terms will be given which will enable anyone to own a home and stop paying rent. So their idea was to make it the upscale neighborhood. However, that was 1890. 1893, they had the first major flood. The first major flood was a rude awakening, and the floods came annually. We may not have flooded anywhere else, but it flooded Central Addition. It was right at river level, and so they had the annual floods because of the oxbow. There would be times that the ice would jam when it would go out in March, and when it did, the water would back up there. But the people in Central Addition were used to that. It's just like we know that if we're going to live in Ottumwa, sometime in January, February, we're going to have to shovel our sidewalks. They knew there was a time that they were going to have to probably wait out, probably find somewhere else to stay, but they would eventually come back to a property that most of them owned. The population went down in 1910s and 1920s, but in 1930 there was a resurgence. People came back. Some of you can probably guess. 1929 was the Depression. The stock market crashed. This was cheap land, and they could get back there and they could live there cheap. Also, just across Wapello Street, on the other side, even though that was considered Central Addition there, it was never developed. It was used as a community gardens. And if you remember Paul Traeger, who was state legislator, he was a parks commissioner just ahead of me. He was an agriculture